guys, me here again, Tracy, doing another scrapbooking layout using the Serendipity collection, which I got as part of my design team package. So I'm starting with the photo that you've already seen, which is a picture of my daughter meeting Marie Antoinette, who is one of the buskers at our recent kind of overnight trip to the city. And I talk more about it in my Project Life video, so if you want to hear the story behind that picture, check out that video, which isn't up yet, but it'll be up soon. It might be up by the time this video comes up too. I don't know what order I do things in. So I'm just picking some neutralish type of paper. I really wanted to pick up on all of the blue, light bluey, greeny colors and silvers and grays that are in the Instagram photo. And almost everything that I'm using is from the design team kit that Sherry sent me from the store. So it's almost all Basic Gray Serendipity and Shine On collection embellishment. Those are the stickers, and I showed you the letter stickers and the pins. This is washi tape from my own stash. I just picked some silver ones to match with the picture a little bit. And then that Elle Studio stamp is something that I got that's new that I just wanted to use in this layout as well. So it's always nice to mix some of your own supplies in with the stuff that you get from a manufacturer. So here I'm just hand cutting two strips of that it's kind of like a wonky scalloped border. It looks a little bit like clouds too. And then I'm just hand cutting a bunch of papers so that they overlap a little bit, and I'm going to layer them together. So I'm actually using two of that white floral on the bluish type of background because I liked it a lot and it was mostly covered. And now I'm just inking the edges of this so that it stands out a little bit, just using some black distress ink and laying it down on top of the washi tape so that the washi tape, kind of two strips of washi tape, and then that scallopy wonky border becomes my top and bottom border for the layout, and then the layers are going to be kind of floating in the middle. So that's going to be my basic overall design is already set at this point. It's going to be all of these rectangles, vertical rectangles, and the title is going to, at this point I wasn't sure. I thought some of the title would be above and some of the title would be below the photo, but I ended up putting it all above. So now I'm just looking for something with a bit more color because I kind of felt like everything was too blue and gray. So I'm inking the edges of that paper that just adds a touch of the red and the yellow that isn't in the layout anywhere else. And then I took this piece of silvery paper from the art store. So this is also not part of the collection, but all the other paper besides this top piece, it's kind of like a piece of vellum, is all from the Serendipity collection. I'm just rolling up the edges and making it look a little bit distressed, and that will just emphasize without using pop dots. I didn't really want to put pop dots in between my layers on this one, so that's another way to emphasize the difference in the layers is to just roll up the corners a little bit, and then since they're different sizes, it kind of layers nicely that way. So I crinkled up that paper just to give it a tiny bit more texture, and at this point I'm kind of wondering, is that overpowering or not? I can't quite decide if I like that top layer of paper or if I should have just stuck with the Serendipity paper, but eventually I'm going to like it, but at this point I'm still not sold on it. I wanted to do some hidden journaling for this layout, and so I am looking for a tag die that might fit in that glassine envelope. That's just something came in, and so it's just kind of from my scraps. And I end up just cutting it by eye, like I didn't die cut it. I just cut a rectangle that fits in the bag, and then I kind of took this tag as a bit of a template for getting the right angle on the edges, and then I ended up doing it wrong anyways, but it's okay, it looks good. It doesn't have to be perfect. I keep reminding myself. And so I'm kind of leaving that tag in there because I can't decide if I'm going to layer those two things together or just use the homemade tag. I do end up just using my own homemade tag. So I'm just showing you a piece of Pop Dot strip. What is that called? It's some strips of adhesive tape that I just picked it up at Michael's, and I'm just making a cluster of stick pins by sticking them through the adhesive foam tape, and then I'm going to put a sticker or something on top of it to cover the tape eventually. And so now here I am thinking about that title, and am I going to do above and below the picture or just all above? And I really like these foil thickers, which I've never had a chance to use before, and so I wanted to use them. And this is a Studio Calico cursive font, and I was going to cut a cursive font with my Silhouette, and that's probably what I would have done because I actually didn't have the 3 T's for this. So I ended up using an L, and then I took an F and cut off the little cross part and added it to the T. So that third T in Antoinette is a makeshift T, but it looks pretty much like the other ones. So anyways, my point in saying that is that I was going to use my Silhouette, but then as I was getting the silver letter stickers, I realized I have this cursive letter sticker package that I really just want to use up, so that's why I used it. So now I'm just adding a doily because doilies add a little bit of texture, and I'm all about the doilies these days, and they're really easy to get. Apparently, I don't have any, I have some, but apparently you can pick them up at the dollar store and stuff, but I don't know, I don't go to the dollar store often enough, I guess. Yeah, so just rolling up the edges of that photo to make it kind of blend with everything else that's on the paper and that's on the layout, and then I'm just gonna place those stickers. And of course that last T is a little bit of a fussier one because it's made out of 2 pieces, and the rest of it is pretty easy. I'm just using the top of the photo as a way of lining up and making sure that those letters are all straight or straightish. Anyways, they don't have to be perfect. And then I'm going to put the word Marie above it, and it does kind of go off the edge, but that's okay. I like having it staggered rather than having it all fit on, so I'd rather have it hanging off and be staggered. It's just personal preference. And then those stickers, just because they were on 2 different surfaces, they weren't sticking all that great, so I just used my tiny attacher to staple them down. And the same thing with that dot from the eye was kind of on 2 different surfaces. Now I'm going to fussy cut around this flower that came on one of the other pieces of paper that I haven't used yet in the collection, and I love these kinds of flowers. These are my favorite kind. They're kind of medallion flowers or something, and they're really, really pretty, and so I wanted to use it as an embellishment. So sorry that some of the action is taking place off camera. I'm basically trying to line up that medallion and seeing how it's going to look as an embellishment that's going to go with those stick pins. And so now I'm just outlining it to give it a bit more dimension. When it's a standalone embellishment, it needs a bit more dimension than it did when it was part of the pattern paper. So now I'm just using some more pieces of foam adhesive to support that embellishment. And I'm going to put it right down there in the corner. And it just adds a bit of color and dimension there in the corner. And now the whole rest of the time that I spend on this layout is attempts at balancing out. So I want to kind of add some more interest, but I also want to add some color because that red thing at the bottom and then the red letters at the top are really the only red at this point. So I started by taking that red banner, cutting it in half and putting part of it up there in the top corner and part of it in the other corner. And then I added a couple of pieces of washi tape at the top and bottom of the picture just for interest, and I used my tiny attacher to hold it down because it was peeling up. Now I'm going to use that L Studio stamp, and in the process of putting it on the block I got a giant fingerprint on it, and rather than clean it, I just decided to keep stamping until the fingerprint was gone, because I'm lazy like that. And I just stamped it on a piece of the Serendipity paper, just one of the solids from the Basic Gray collection. And I'm just kind of experimenting with where I want to put it. It makes the most sense to put it right there because it says notes, and that's where my journaling tag is going to go. So it also balanced off nicely there. It's a slightly different color of red. It's Jenny Bolin cough syrup red, but it's not different enough that it looks really wildly out of place or anything like that. And, I'm a big proponent of using what you've got and using what's close to you. And so, rather than going out and buying a specific red that's going to match every single collection I have, as long as it's not too far off, I'll just use what I have. Because you can just gather so many different supplies, like 14 different reds. And really, when are you going to use all that stuff? And then you have to think about where you're going to put it all. So right now I'm going to layer a bunch of those little tags. I think those little tiny tags are one of the cutest embellishments I've ever seen. I absolutely love them. And I like them clustered together like that. So at first I wasn't sure, what on earth am I going to do with these? I was going to make a banner out of them, and then I just thought, I'll just add them to my layers and have them clustered like that. The twine also adds a bit of texture to the layout. And now I'm taking my hobby store sequins and putting them in the centers of the only two flowers on. And then I thought about sprinkling them, kind of like mimicking ink splatter. I also thought about using ink splatter on this, but I decided against both of those ideas. I use the tiny I've got two sizes there, so I put large clear ones on both flowers, and then I put a small white one in the middle of the big flower and left the small flower with just the clear. And now, as much as I love having little butterflies sticking out of the layers, I couldn't make either of these butterflies work in a way that I was happy with, so I ended up putting them back, and I'll use them somewhere else. But I definitely felt like that top right-hand corner needed a little something, so I took that yellow heart and stapled it on, and I really like what that adds. So now I'm going to do a tiny bit of stamping on the top and bottom of the border of this layout, if you think about it as having like a frame on the top and bottom. I just wanted something a little bit more than just the tape and the paper, so I decided to put some arrows, and I had to experiment to see if the ink was going to stick to the washi tape because I've never stamped on washi tape before, and it turns out that you needed to use the StazOn, so that's what I used. And now I'm finally going to commit to putting this big hunk of layers down onto the background paper. And now I'm going to try to decide what I'm going to do with this tag. And I have done this before where I use those little labels punches as reinforcement holes for tags. The first oval one, I didn't like the look of it, so I went with the circular one. And I really love how that looks. It looks like a real shipping tag. I just cut it out of a scrap piece of craft paper that I had in my neutral scrap drawer. Then I decided to outline both sides, even though I'm only going to use one side. I just thought if somebody turns it around, I'd like it to look finished. And at first I was going to do my journaling on the plain side, but eventually when I go to do the journaling, I ended up putting the journaling on the floral side because I liked how the tag looked with the floral side peeking out, because that's that floral that I've already covered up twice, and I do really like the print, so I wanted a bit more of it showing. I keep my journaling well over to the right in this case because I didn't want it to be peeking out. So it's truly hidden journaling. Sometimes when I do hidden journaling, I have it purposely stick out so that you know that there's there's something to look for. But in this case, I didn't. So you can check out my blog if you want to see what that says in close, or up close, although maybe you can read it all now, I don't know, if you're fast. Or if you press pause, I suppose. And so this is the layout is pretty much done, and I had a lot of fun layering all of these mostly neutral similar colored papers all together and then figuring out a way to pack some color into little parts of it. So that was sort of my challenge for this one, was to do a mostly neutral layout and then figure out a way to bring up some color, like to kind of punch up some color in different places. So love those little tiny mini tags. I've got to use those more often. They're so cute. And the cutout, I sometimes I forget to use cutouts, and it's a really nice way to get more from your paper. So anyways, thanks for watching. And